Okay, good evening and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube. Iyun Benzion. Tonight's daf is Nedarim daf Iyun Daled number 74. Well, Gemara has a discussion. We're back to Maseches Yevamos tonight. If you really were feeling bad and missing, you know, Maseches Yevamos, so you have two options. Either you can go type in YouTube Yevamos, whatever daf you want, Benzion line on YouTube. You'll find my shir on Yevamos because I gave a shir. Not just a daf yomi share every share in Yevamos, but also an Iyun share on every daf in Yevamos. So you want to really go hear some shir in Yevamos, you can go there. Or you can listen to tonight's shir. We're talking about Yibum, and we're talking about it related to our parak, which is Hafaras Nedarim of a Yavam. Again, Yibum, for people who forgot what it is, basically is a case where you have two brothers. You have one brother who was married to a woman, and he died without having children with his wife, and he left the wife over, and he has a brother. The brother now has a mitzvah either do yibum or chalitza, right? We don't recommend doing yibum anymore. Yibum is to have bia, to be together with your brother's wife and have a child for your brother, seemingly, Torah says. And chalitza is basically releasing that bond and making her free to marry anyone else. You have to do chalitza, let her marry someone else. So we encourage people to do chalitza nowadays. Now, the question is, when the brother dies and she's awaiting chalitza or yibum, no one has done chalitza or yibum, assuming there's one brother, for simplicity's sake, can't even make her in the Nedarim. She makes a neder at that point. After her brother passed away, she's in a very emotionally turbulent stage, and she's making a Nedarim. She's forbidding herself to eat salad. She wants to be a vegan without eating salad. She's on a strict diet. She wants to lose a lot of weight. She feels really bad. I don't know. It's obviously a very tumultuous situation. Lose your husband, a young husband probably, and have children. So, can he be made for the Nedarim? Right? Lezer says three opinions on Mishra. Akiva says no way, no circumstance can be made for the Nedarim. Lezer says yes, and the Gemara explains according to Lezer probably only means if he did Maimer. Let's take a step back. If there's only one remaining brother alive, so according to Rabbi Yeshua, and probably according to Rabbi Lezer also, he could be made for the Nedarim without doing Maimer, without doing a Kiddushin. According to Rabbi Lezer, even if there's more than one brother, if one of the brothers steps forward and does Maimer, which is basically Kiddushin, you give some money to the Shemeres Yavam. So even though it's not a Kinyan, it's not Yibum, you have to do Bia for a Yibum, but it's like a half Kinyan, a partial Kinyan. The Gemara in Yibum discusses what type of Kinyan it is. So those two opinions, Rabbi Lezer and Yeshua say it's possible. Now we paskin like Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva holds you can't be made for because Ein Zika, there's no Zika, there's no connection, so you have no rights to be made for the Nedarim, not by yourself and not with the father, even if she's a Nara. So the only way to do it, to alleviate the problem of the Nedarim, is to be Mater Nedarim. The Gemara discusses, because the Gemara discusses other Shitas also, it doesn't always discuss the one the Halacha is like, discussing the Shita of Rebbe Lezer. Lezer, it's hard to understand. Even when there's two remaining brothers, if one steps forward and does Maimer, so he gets the ability to be made for a Nedarim. So the Gemara says, it's only his opinion, only Rabbi Ami explains, is only according to Beit Shammai. He says Maimer is Koine Kinyan Gomer. Maimer is not just a Kinyan Derabban, it's actually a Kinyan Del Raisa. The Gemara discusses whether it's like Erison or Nisuin, but even if it's like Erison, then he can be made for the Nedarim with the father. If it's like Nisuin, he's made for the Nedarim by himself. The Gemara says there's an opinion in Maseches Yevamos, Rabbi Lazar, not Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Lazar, it's an Amora, who says that even according to Beit Shammai, Maimer is not Koine Kinyan Gomer Midoraisa to make like an Arus or Nesua, it's just to be Docha the Sarah, meaning that if your brother who passed away was married to more than one wife, right, you can only do Yibam with one of his wives, not with two of his wives. Bias Echad Abonim, a little bonus Shnei Bata. That the Gemara is in your Vamos. So if he does Maimer with one of them, so therefore it pushes away. You can no longer do Yibam with the second one. Doesn't mean that it's actually like an Eris or an Nisuin. So the Gemara says, according to that opinion, how would Rebbe Lezer make sense, right? He doesn't have Eris, he doesn't have Nisuin with her. So how could it be that he's made for the Nedarim? So the Gemara answers, the bottom, Ayin Dalam and Aleph, Ma'ikal Ameim, or Hachamay Askin, the third to last line, goes, Shamad Badin, this Chayav Lamazonos. Talk about a case, the Gemara says that she has a recourse, this woman who's waiting, she doesn't have to wait forever for this person to do Yibum Chalisa, or for the brothers, one of them to step forward and do Yibum Chalisa. She, after 3 months, she has the right to sue him, to sue one of the brothers or both of the brothers, and bring them to court and force them to either do Yibum or Chalitza because she needs to be fed, she needs to be taken care of. So she sued one of the brothers, the one who did Mimer, because right, he's the prominent brother now. He did Mimer, he gave her money, and now she sued him, and he ran away. So it's kind of the Gemara and Yevamos Paskins on Memalef, I think, that he's chayav to give her mazonos, meaning Basin can go freeze his bank account, they can go garnish his wages, and they can pay for the food he owes her food, right? The Rava Amar Kol Deres Das Baal Hino Deres. Now, the Gemara is saying it's based on this teaching of Rava that anytime a woman takes a neder, she does it on the condition that her husband will be pleased with it. Now, I explained yesterday this statement of Rava to mean that it doesn't mean literally that the woman has in mind when she makes a neder, a married woman has in mind, I'm only going to make a neder if it's pleasing to my husband. I'm going to give my husband the right to decide whether he wants this neder or not. No, the Gemara is saying that the Torah's construct of marriage is that the woman, the idea of Hafaras Nedarim by a husband who is married, a fully married husband, is different than a father's Hafaras Nedarim or an Arusa's Hafaras Nedarim, where both the father and the Arus do it together. There, by a father or by the Arus, there is to protect the girl as opposed to a married woman, right? You're only allowed to make for Nedarim. The husband's only made for Nedarim in certain circumstances. It's Dvarim Shebeino Lebeina, or Iyun Nefesh, which she's harming herself, or there are things that are going to disturb the marriage. So it's a convenience for the husband in order not to make sure his wife doesn't ruin their marriage through her Nedarim. So that's what the Gemara means. Kol Deres Tadas Baila Hino Deres is that the construct of Hafaras Nedarim by the husband is that we make it like the woman is only doing things that would be agreeable to her husband. If her husband is not agreeable with it, then he's made for the neder. Here the Gemara adds a new dimension. The Gemara is saying that even though he's not even the husband, right? He's not a husband over here. He's chayav mezonos, right? He's obligated to feed her, right? He's definitely not the husband. He hasn't done yibum. There's no eris, there's no nisuin. Nonetheless, the fact that he has to feed her is like a nisuin for Hafaras Nedarim. It's hard to imagine. There's no eris. There's no erisin, no nisuin, not even erisin. But because he has to feed her, so this really tells you a lot what to tell you about nisuin is, right? Nisuin, I explained many times, nisuin really means to carry. That's what it means. And literally, in the secular world, a lot of, when you get married, you carry your wife over the threshold of the door into your room or the bedroom. So it's really carrying is really symbolic of responsibility, where you bring her into your room. You're taking a responsibility for her, and that's really what marriage is all about. Marriage is the commitment, right? That's what marriage is different than just living with someone when you're not married. It's a commitment to take care of that person. And that makes life more difficult because there's a commitment, there's responsibility. Anytime, right, something is obligated upon you, it's just deemed more difficult in your eyes. You don't have the same willingness to do it. Like the Gemara explains when it comes to Gadol Mitzuva Osa, one of the Rishonim explained, it's greater men, certain mitzvahs they're obligated in, so their reward is greater than a woman who doesn't have to do it. Because it's harder to do mitzvahs. The Rabbeinu Tam says in Pesachas Kedushin, because Gadol Mitzuva Osa, Rishonim Mitzuva Osa, because you have more of a Yetzer Hara when it's like an obligation. It's not as much fun to do it. When it's just, we're doing the diva slave, we're doing, we want to, we do it at our own volition, so we decide to do it. There's like an enjoyment, like a personal enjoyment. When someone's telling us to do something, whether it's God or somebody else, it's much harder to do it. So that obligation of marriage, the fact that he has to feed her, he has to provide mazonos for her, even though they're not even arusin, not even nisuin, but that makes a contract of marriage in terms of, right, the fact that I have to support you, I have to pay for your mazonos. That's what marriage is all about. Marriage really is, when you agree to get married and you give her a ksuba, one of the things you're obligated is mazonos. You have to give her clothes also. You have to have conjugal relations with her at the right time. So you have obligations to be responsible to her. And that's the Gemara is conveying over here, that even just a mere responsibility is enough to invoke the din. You don't want to ruin the relationship. The Torah allows you the convenience of Himei for the Nedarim because you have that tough relationship now that you have to support her. So therefore, the Torah gave you the convenience of being made for an Nedarim, so it shouldn't ruin that relationship and make it even harder for you. Hope you enjoyed tonight's share. See you in the next one.